After receiving the gift from the patriarch, I saw the reality hidden behind the lies I've been told. The place I now stood, the church, it no longer belonged to him on Terra. It was different, changed from the inside out, almost a reflection of the changes I feel moving inside my own soul. What was once a holy place, a dwelling filled with the presence of the Emperor and a place of lies and propaganda, is now a source of something far more dangerous. Something that the Imperium fears more than anything else. Hope. And it is not the false hope called faith, that bitter pill the ecclesiarchy forces us to swallow day in and day out. Their words no longer hold sway here. The feeling is more tangible. The hope comes from a messenger from the stars, brought to us in our time of need. An outside force, completely uninfluenced by the bias of imperial dogma. If I am perfectly honest with myself, I do not understand it. I have asked around this place for the name of our saviors, and I have only come up with this. They are called the Star Gods, beings of immense power and wisdom, benevolent deities that liberate those like me, the broken, the abused, the downtrodden. They come from beyond our galaxy, beyond the reach and laws of the Imperium of Man. They are the presence that fills this church. This place is their sanctuary, and through their messenger, they have named this place the Nest. I can't say I know much about the workings of gods, priests, and such. I'm just a simple manufactorum worker, a dreg at the very bottom of the festering wound that is imperial society. All my life, I've been told that I am not worthy of anything more than that. Knowledge is dangerous, or so they say. They also say that it is a gift for those born to it, those more capable of handling it. Those of a higher station are privy to the greatest secrets, secrets I was never meant to know. There's an old adage that makes its way around the hair blocks. Blessed is the mind that is too small for doubt. I've heard the saying from neighbors. I've heard it from the mouth of my own mother. My father used to say it when I became too curious for my own good. But now, having learned differently, I begin to wonder. Was this saying meant to comfort me, or was it meant to blind me from the reality of the world around me? Ari guides me through the nest, showing me the places that matter. We pass through the corridors, lit by flickering lumens. For a moment, we stop at a communal gathering space. I notice the crowd that has begun to congregate there. Mothers stand amongst them, teaching newcomers and children alike that strange language that I'd heard from Ari earlier. The sounds are just as strange and alien as they had been then, peculiar and unsettling. The noises fill the air with a chorus of chittering and chirping, an organic collage of sounds mixed with something more nuanced. It was almost as if I could feel the words they were saying. Every intonation was filled with something a little extra. Clicks had double meanings that I did not understand. Whistles signaled something else entirely. A small part of me rebels against this instinctively, as if something deep inside me knows that no human tongue should be able to produce these sounds. As if in response to this very thought, the old part of me, what remains of the man I was only days ago, stirs to life. It whispers urgently in my mind thoughts of fear and revulsion. It isn't natural. None of this is right. Run while you still can. You aren't too far gone to receive the mercy of the Emperor. The voice within is familiar, like an old friend, but one you've become estranged with over time. I now know it for what it is, the dogma that has been ingrained within me for as long as I've been able to breathe. I clench my fists, embracing the sensation of the words I'm hearing, the sounds I'm feeling. I force it back down, pressing it deeper into the hidden corners of my heart where it belongs. When the tour is over, Ari leads me towards the exit. It doesn't take me long to realize we're heading back, leaving the nest behind us. We're returning to the hollow world outside, away from the sanctuary I've only just discovered. I hesitate at the threshold, my eyes unconsciously wandering back over my shoulder. I feel a pull, a strong desire to abandon Ari and run back inside. For the first time in years, I have hope again. I have a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. I feel like I'm part of a greater whole. Not in the sense of a cog in the machine like I had felt in the Manufactorum, but in a sense of motivation and strength. I feel like I stepped into and became a part of something, a movement greater than myself. The sensation felt like an embrace, warm and comforting. The nest and those within had welcomed me, made me one of their own. I had submitted and found peace in the comfort they provided. I did not want to return to that surface world of lies and pain, where I was useless and would spend my days waiting to die. It stopped me there for a long moment, that thought. It's a stark contrast to the person I had been when I came here. I still remember the revulsion when I looked upon this church and noticed what I had called defilements. God Emperor, how quickly things change. Ari looks towards me, her eyes meeting my own. Strangely, I don't feel the push, the intrusion of her mind into my subconscious. We are already connected, in a way that did not need to be forced. Her eyes soften, and she smiles gently at me.
Barddus, we are not abandoning you.
Her eyes look upward as if she's seen the corruption of Hive Argentum laid bare before her scrutinizing gaze.
You've been gone from your old life for several days. You need to return. The nest's safety depends on it. I wonder where you've been, Barddus.
Days? The shock of it hits me hard, like a punch to the ribs. I feel a cold trickle of fear run down my spine. She expects me to return after being absent so long. The Manufactorum would have my hide. Even better, they would probably turn me into an unthinking, unfeeling servitor. The cogboys, the ones dressed in the red robes of Mars, direct and control everything that happens there. We have to be at our stations at a certain time and a certain place. We are told what to do and how to do it. Any deviation from the prescribed course results in severe punishment for all involved. By asking me to return to the levels above, Ari is effectively asking me to throw myself into the furnace and pray that I do not get burnt. I am left to walk this path alone as I slowly make my way towards the elevator. In my hand is a small parchment, clutched in an iron grip. Written upon it is a series of numbers, the codes to command the device to take me back to the higher levels. I do not wish to dwell on how Ari had gained these codes. To my limited knowledge, only those higher up have access to them. Some poor soul most likely had to die in order to get these. The lengths that the brood is willing to go to, it does not bear to think about at this time. I reach the elevator and push the button that calls it down to the underhive. Mere steps. That's all that steps between me and a return to a life I never wanted. I look over my shoulder. Within me is a small hope, a nagging desire to see Ari standing behind me, her hand on my shoulder. I want her to say that this was all a test, and perhaps it still is, that I passed and I can return to the warmth of the brood and the safety of the nest. The door slides open as the elevator clatters its way down. I hesitate for a moment before stepping inside. Grabbing the cold metal of the cage, I close it behind me. I can't help but feel like a grox, caged and broken. Until I had found something different, I had never noticed the way the Imperium seemed to break me down and grind me into nothingness. Now that I know freedom, I understand captivity. I reach out, pressing the indent runes that match the codes I'd been given. For a long moment I fear that the machine spirit within will reject them. I dread the idea of returning to the nest, empty-handed and unproven. I shake my head, dissolving the thought. There is no machine spirit. It's all just buttons and numbers. After a while, and with a sound of grinding steel on steel, the elevator lurches upwards. The movement is halting, jarring. almost as if the machine within is resisting my attempts to return home, almost as if it knows what I've become, the changes within. Eventually, the cage comes to a halt and slides open. I am not sure if it's providence or expert planning, but the protective darkness of night has enveloped my old home. For a moment, I feel a strange dissonance, as if I'd only just left. Nightfall was when I had left with Ari to find my new life. The ever-present night is when I return. I slowly make my way towards my hab. Before, I had been filled with a nervous apprehension and a sensation of anticipation that comes with a clandestine meeting. Now, I'm filled with a different kind of fear, pervasive and deep. The Imperium has eyes and ears everywhere. Can they sense my heresy, the changes within my body and soul that I've allowed to be wrought within me? I outwardly flinch at every shadow, every slightest movement. I sigh with visible relief when I reach my hab. I am untouched. As I enter the temporary safety of my old life, I realize how irrational I'd been. No one is going to give a care about a simple manufactorum worker. To them, I'm little more than a cog, a small piece in a much larger machine. If a cog goes missing, the Imperium does not shed a tear. They simply replace it, until that cog too either breaks or disappears. My feet drag as I walk to my bed. It's so thin and empty, much like my life before the nest. No one questions me. I hear not a single muttered word from the others who share my hab with me. Sleep comes easily enough. I don't so much as lay down as collapse into the bed, my eyes closed and my body drifting off before I even hit the threadbare pillow. The rest is short-lived as the klaxon jolts me awake. It has been so long since I had last heard it that my heart is racing. I rise slowly, the events of the past few days floating around in my mind like a hazy fog. Was it all a dream? Had my mind, desperate for something better, made everything up? The doubts start to seep in, but there's something else there blocking them. It's a connection, one that I feel more strongly than I expected. It's distant, faded somewhat, like an echo from the past. The sensation flows through me and I feel a tether of emotion and intent that seems to flow both in and around me. It's a tangible connection I can almost feel. I have almost a general sense of where the patriarch is. I can even sense the others to a lesser degree. What had he called it? It had been a word that I'd never heard before. Synaps. That's the word. The connection I feel is the synaps. What exactly that means, I'm still not sure. I rise from the bed, every joint popping, every muscle aching. I need to get up. I have to reach the manufactorum. Running my hand through my hair, I stumble towards the door. The energy needed is considerable. With everything I have endured until this point, I am surprised I have anything left to give. The walk to the manufactorum is brief. I see that ancient structure looming over me. The mouth-like entrance seems to swallow me whole. The stained plascrete windows feel like the eyes of an oppressive overlord watching me always. The servo skulls had once made me feel secure and watched over. Now they feel like the eyes of a damning god judging my soul. I repress a shudder, moving to my station. What surprises me most is that I was never stopped, not once. The overseers did not say anything to me. In fact, they took great lengths to ignore me. Even my fellow co-workers did not say anything. It's almost as if I had become an outcast among outcasts. Some even make the sign of the Aquila as I pass, as if I am something unclean to their eyes, revolting to their presence. I can't make sense of it, no matter how hard I try. My work passes slowly, and I feel the slow burn of endurance working its way back into my muscles. This pain, the sweat, the way every one of my bones feel like they're about to snap under the pressure, I have forgotten it. Time passes with agonizing slowness. Finally, the overseers blow their whistles. A break has been called, probably the only one we'll receive today. My empty thoughts haunt me. The connection is there. I can feel it growing with every passing minute. Is this a test of some sort? There's no way of telling. As I sit at the table, my mind lost in an endless maze of renewed doubt and hope, someone passes by me. I feel their arm brush against my neck. When I look to see who it is, I notice a folded parchment deliberately dropped near my seat. I look around, trying to find the person. Failing this, I reach down and pick up the paper. It is light, frayed at the edges, and hastily folded. With trembling fingers, I begin to unfold it. I catch a glimpse of words written hastily, scrawled in ink. My eyebrows raise as I read. Greetings, Barddus. Your task is thus. Prove your loyalty to your new family by bringing down the chains of your old life. The Manufactorum is key to the production of weapons for the corrupted Imperium. Destroy it, and pave the way for the Liberators. Stamped below is the crescent symbol I had learned to associate with the movement. A wave of doubt crystallizes in my heart, deep where the old me still resides. Can I do this? Should I do this? A small part of me wants to resist. That portion of my soul demands that I crumple the piece of paper and throw it into the nearest incinerator. However, the new me, the one awoken by the Patriarch, is much more insistent. As I pull away, I feel the synaps within me grow stronger, drawing me back in like metal slag drawn to a magnet. The moment of doubt is gone as I tap into the feelings of those to whom I'm now connected. I remember the pain, the endless work, and everything I had come to detest about this Imperium of man. This Manufactorum, this prison, is a manifestation of everything that I despise. It is a symbol of oppression and fear. It devours the will of those inside, and for what? A few lasguns. This in turn only fuels the endless wars that the Imperium wages. More death, more pain. I wanted to. No, I need it to end. As the horn sounds, we all stand up and are herded back to our stations. This time, however, is different. Somehow, I know not where this knowledge comes from, but my eyes are drawn to the walls around me. I watch the servo skulls as they flit about, trying to identify random patterns. I observe the walls looking for security devices. The redundancies are there, wires flowing to different locations. Without thinking, I register blind spots and hidden paths that until now I would never have noticed. The Imperium has a fetish for skulls. How did I not see this before? I have no idea. I can see them now, lenses in the eye sockets, like grotesque parodies of living eyesight. They focus and click, and I can feel them watching me. What once made me feel secure, now only fills me with dread. I make a mental note of every feature, every device I can see. This is a tactical sense that I did not have before the synapse. Is this the power of that link, to gift me with new skills and knowledge, or has it always been there, only to be awakened by the powers bestowed upon me by the Patriarch? My shift comes to an end, but I don't feel tired. Instead, I feel invigorated and ready for what comes next. There is an eagerness within me that almost makes me afraid. I want to do this. The desire is there. I can feel it. I head home after my shift, my mind buzzing with everything I've learned. Somehow, plans are already starting to click into place. I have ideas, things that should not be there. It's almost as if an intuition has awoken within me. I crash into my bed. No matter how much I change, the fatigue always seems to catch up with me in the end. It settles on me like a heavy cloak and pulls me into the bed. Sleep is like an old friend, but this time it is different. I have stated before that I don't normally dream. People have debated this fact with me. They tell me that dreaming is a natural state and that I simply don't remember them. I beg to differ. The call had been the first real dream that I'd actually felt. This one is no different. It starts with me standing in a vast, empty hallway. The corridor is sparse to the point of absurdity. No cracks line the walls, no lights show the path ahead. There is nothing to change or mar the surface, just an endless expanse heading in one direction. I can feel my own confusion. This is new, something strange and foreign. Instinctually, I move further along the path until I feel the familiar tug of the synaps guiding me forward. Soon I hear voices ahead. They are distant, like echoes deep within a cave. I recognize both of them. One is Ari, and the other I recognize the deep baritones of the Patriarch. I slowly creep forward. I catch my own name in the snippets of their conversation. Part of me shudders. I feel like an interloper, a spy observing an intimate moment not meant for my eyes. Both of them are standing in a large room. I recognize the defaced murals, the arched ceiling, the throne itself. They're in the atrium. Ari is kneeling before the Patriarch as he sits upon his customary seat of power. Ari looks up and meets his gaze, her own expression questioning.
I do not understand, my Patriarch. Why must I seek him out?
Seek who out? My curiosity only deepens, and I inch a little closer. I worry they might sense me, and I'll interrupt whatever's happening here. The Patriarch nods slowly, as if deeply understanding Ari's unease.
He is the one, my Magus. The seed was planted so long ago. His potential must be awakened if we are to move forward toward Liberation Day.
My mind starts to wander a little, a thought within a dream. I begin to wonder what exactly I'm missing. Is this a figment of my imagination conjured up by my exhausted psyche, or is this something more profound? He slowly stands to his full height, and I feel his presence deeply. However, at the same time, it feels faint, almost like it's an echo of what once was.
When I first arrived on this begotten world so many years ago, I planted the seeds that would bear fruit. This fruit in turn would foster resistance. I needed key pieces to move forward.
He pauses, slowly circling Ari.
Some would manifest many generations down the line. Others needed to be selected immediately. I thought I had found what I wanted in Colonel Maximus Graydon.
I feel my heart skip a beat, and I have to take a breath. The name. Why did he mention the name of my great-grandfather? He had died years ago, swimming in pain and debt. His folly after attaining so much glory serving with the Astra Militarum is what landed my family in the predicament that resulted in us slaving away in the Manufactorum. My mother always mentioned his name with such spite and venom. She would always give me terrorful, hateful glances whenever my father mentioned his name. So why did the Patriarch mention it with such fervor?
I meant him to be...
Before he can finish, reality seems to shift. The entire view of what I'm witnessing distorts and cracks. Pieces fall away like a broken mirror, and a deep crevasse opens before me. I reach out, my hand clutching for the Patriarch. He'd been about to reveal something deeply important, something critical.
To be what?
I shout, desperate for answers.
What was he meant to be? What do you want with me?
My bare feet slip on the floor and I'm left tumbling down, deep into the fathomless abyss. I fall end over end, the wind rushing past me. My heart races. I can feel sweat beading my brow. The abyss ends and I see a glimpse of something disconcerting. A wide mouth, covered in purple chitin, filled with razor-sharp teeth. A web of sticky saliva strung from point to point. Its maw opens wide and I am swallowed whole. But just as the jaws are about to close, I jolt awake. My breath is heavy and quick. My pulse races, and I wipe my forehead with the back of my sleeve. What was that? A vision? A dream? Whatever it was, it felt so damn real. I wiped the sheen of sweat from my brow, my eyes frantically looking around the room. My mind is brimming over with questions, ones that I desperately need answers to. Through my window, I can see that the night still envelops the hive in its deep embrace. The time for my shift is not yet at hand. If I'm quick, I can head back down to where the answers may lie. My sheets are thrown aside as I bolt from my bed. I had never undressed, so it's only a matter of grabbing my work boots and running out the door. The trip to the nest is shorter than the last. I am filled with less anxiety about my destination, but at the same time I am suffused with new questions. The dream is still vivid in my mind. I remember every single detail. The elevator jolts to a halt and I run, my feet pounding across the ground, my heart in my throat. As I reach the nest, my awareness of the synaps grows stronger. I can feel the presence of both Ari and the Patriarch, and I'm drawn to it. I hone in on the sense of them, passing resistance members. I brush shoulders with a few of them in my haste, drawing strange looks and harsh words in that chittering language I still do not understand. Ahead of me, I see two guardsmen, las rifles held diagonally across their chests. They try to speak to me in that language, but switch to Imperial Gothic when they realize I do not understand. The one on the left, Cedrus, is his name. How do I know that? No time to stop and think about it. Jaden holds out his hand and stops me.
Hold, brother. Father and his magus are in a meeting.
I don't hear him. I don't have time. I shoulder past him and they resist. They try to stop me, but I feel a strength in me that I'd never felt before. The synapse floods into my veins, and I ignore all pretenses of hesitation or pain. My muscles tighten into cords as it pushes me forwards. I reach past for the doorknob and turn it, practically spilling into the room. I rise to my feet, but before I get the chance, a rough hand weighs down on my shoulder and forces me back down to my knees. I feel the cold steel of a barrel pressed to my temple, but before the guard can pull the trigger, the Patriarch looks up and raises his hand. Almost immediately, an overpowering wave of calm, emanating from him like ripples in a pool of dirty water, washes over me and everyone in the room. The barrel is removed, and I barely hear the Patriarch's words. Whatever was said is effective, and the guards leave, closing the door behind them. My legs feel like lead, and I slowly, once again, try to stand. This time, I'm not interrupted. Before any of them can ask questions, I stammer out, "It happened again. I had another dream." My words tumble out in a hurried mess. I can't seem to put my thoughts in order. However, our connection allows them to read me like an open data slate. He looks up from the table they've been standing around, and his gaze meets my own. I can see sympathy there, understanding too.
You have returned to us. Faster than expected, Barddus.
I don't have time for the pleasantries. I need to know what the dream meant. I risk my own death by possibly overstepping my bounds. I do not understand the rules or customs of the brood yet, and that may spell my end. What am I? What have you done to me? My words are filled with pain, and I almost choke in my throat. I have so many more questions, so many things racing in my mind. He walks gracefully around the table, his staff clicking on the hard stone floor. His movement is faster than I expected, with an almost ethereal silence. He holds out one clawed hand and places it on my shoulder.
For one who has been with us so short a time, you have such a connection to the synapse that you are able to peer into the collective and see the past.
The Patriarch's voice is like that of a preacher, one who has witnessed a follower in pain and is offering succor. His calmness is infectious, and I feel my own pulse start to slow. The past. Is that what I saw? I wonder about this. The revelation answers a few poignant questions. His gaze meets my own and I look past it towards Ari. There is a tension in her expression that I've never seen before. Is that fear? What could she be afraid of? What is the patriarch about to reveal that is so devastating that she would fear for me? Or is it that she fears for herself? The patriarch seems to read my expression and my thoughts.
Yes, the past. What you saw happened many years ago. Your great-grandfather was an influential man. A man who had given his all to an imperium that no longer cared for him. An imperium that broke him down, ground his pride to dust, and left him to rot in their bureaucracy.
This much I already knew, or had at least suspected. This, what he describes, drove me mad. Eventually it would break him, driving him to take his own life, and bring eternal shame to my family.
I had approached him in the early days of the movement. I had wanted him to be a leader. With his experience, he would have been a great power against the Imperium. He accepted my offer, and I gave him the gift. Same as you.
The patriarch's gaze becomes distant, like a being remembering a fond memory. However, his jet-black eyes cloud over with pain and disappointment as he says,
It did not take, or so I had thought. Barddus, your family contains within its DNA a rare genetic quirk that both empowers you to the synaps, making you great conduits for its influence and power. However, that same quirk also makes you resistant to it.
The news is shocking to me. My family had never said anything about such events. As far as I had ever known, my great-grandfather had been a devoted soul of the Imperium. He, in life, had never expressed outward dissension. He had served and nearly died for the cause of man. However, everything the Patriarch says is the ring of truth. Through the synaps, all emotions are brought to bear, and all I can sense is honesty radiating from him. The Patriarch opens his mandibles to speak again, but Ari interrupts him.
He is not ready, my patriarch. He needs more time.
I can feel the fear from her. I reach out into the synaps. My efforts are like a child learning his first steps, fumbling through and nearly falling over. However, I reach out close enough to Ari's mind to brush against it and feel her surface thoughts. She is afraid, but not for me. She fears for herself. Whatever the Patriarch is about to say is tied to that fear.
He had already stepped deeper into the collective than any other before him. He has the right to know. Barddus, I had intended for your great-grandfather to help me lead the movement. Ari stands on my left as my agent of the synaps. The Magus guards the soul of the brood, protecting them from the Imperium. She is the spiritual lens through which our righteous wrath is focused.
His voice is firm with fervor and conviction. What he says makes perfect sense. It explains the respect and deference that the other members offer her.
Maximus Graydon was meant to be my right hand, my Primus.
The word means almost nothing to me, but when he speaks it, the power from that single phrase radiates out from him. I can feel it surge through me. The eagerness from the Patriarch is palpable.
He was meant to be my sword and my shield. As the Magus protects the soul, so does the Primus protect the body. I feared he was lost when I learned of his death. However, his genetics passed on to his son. From that genetic line, the gift passed into latency, a rare occurrence never before seen by the star gods.
The words are heavy. I can sense how this has affected him, or rather, he's allowing me to. The rarity is something the Patriarch had never expected, but ultimately had to accept.
Eventually, it passed from his son, your grandfather, to your mother, and from her, the gift has been passed on to you. I merely reawoke what was already within you, Barddus.
I stagger back as if receiving a physical blow. The implications are overwhelming. My mind races and I feel the weight of it settle on my shoulders. What does that mean for me? I stammer, my voice quiet. His grip on my shoulder tightens with his conviction.
This movement cannot continue without my Primus.
His eyes stare deep into mine, boring into my mind and soul. I can feel him probing me, searching me.
I believe you are what he was meant to be.
He steps back, allowing me to digest what I've just learned. I can feel the potential radiating through me. Part of me wants this, desires to be wanted. I feel the pull, the power within. The Patriarch has only spoken truth to me, and I do not wish to offer betrayal. Like my dream, I can feel echoes of the past. The Primus is the edge needed to push the movement forward. Without this being, the brood had been forced back underground. Plans had changed. Until recently, they had been biding their time. Another puzzle clicks into place. I close my fists and look up at Ari, my eyes narrowing. You, I growl as the realization sets in. You have been toying with me this entire time. You knew what I was supposed to be, and had been drawing me in like a puppet on a string. Ari takes a step back, and I feel a pulse within the synapse. It echoes with my anger, like adding a spark to a barrel of promethium. The Patriarch steps back, and Ari looks from him to me. I should have known that your camaraderie was too good to be true. I should have guessed that there was another motive behind it all. My fists clench, my nails digging deep into the flesh of my palms. So how much of it was true? Her silence only serves to infuriate me further, and I step forwards, planting my foot down aggressively. Are you going to say something, or should I take your silence as an admonition of guilt? She steps back and her hand clutches her staff. She gulps, her throat visibly swelling as she swallows whatever she was about to say. I feel myself about to snap when the Patriarch's hand grips my shoulder once more.
Calm yourself, Barddus. Ari did you no wrong.
And just like that, the well of anger is gone, snuffed out like a torch caught in the rain. It sputters and dies until only smouldering coals remain. My shoulders slump, and I feel the synapse relax, as it is subjected to the will of the Patriarch.
I tasked Ari with bringing you into the fold myself. We needed you, needed what you will become. We had to save you before the Imperium destroyed all that you are.
He removes his hand from my shoulder and steps in front of me. Something passes between him and Ari that I do not catch, a subtle glance, a nod, and a release of tension. He holds out his hand to me and says,
Let me show you something. It will allow you to understand. You will need it for your mission.
I look at his outstretched hand. This is another choice in the path that is my life, a point where it diverges and creates irrevocable change. On the one hand, I can refuse. A deep part of me still wants to. There is a small portion of me that feels that this is wrong in some way. I cannot deny that. However, the Patriarch has yet to lie to me or deceive me in any way. In fact, according to his own words, has gone out of his way to help me, to save me from a life that would have otherwise destroyed me. I feel my doubt and fear like a weight deep in my stomach, pulling me down and threatening to drown me. The proffered hand is a buoy, a lifeline thrown to save me from myself. I swallow and reach out for his hand, placing my own within. He smiles that warm fatherly smile of his and guides me to the table. We stand around this circular device and I feel a resonance. He reaches out his other hand towards Ari and she takes it without hesitation. Her own hand reaches for mine and I connect with her. As this happens, I feel a warmth flood through me. My thoughts are heightened, my senses are enhanced. I feel stronger, more aware. I feel as though I am a piece of a 3-part puzzle that has only been completed by this connection. My senses expand outwards, like blood flowing through veins. The patriarch is the undeniable heart, and we, everyone in the brood, are all connected. We are all the same thought, the same mind. This connection, this shared collective of memory and consciousness, feels empowering. I have never felt this strong in my entire life. It is the most elevating experience I have ever had. I can feel them. The star gods. They are so far away, and yet through the synaps so very close at the same time. They feel like the patriarch, at once both familiar and alien. The star gods are ancient, eons beyond my own limited comprehension. I can feel them through the patriarch. They are nothing like I have ever felt before. I can get a sense of them. They are eager, drawn to this world. I see them, and in turn I believe they see me. The growth of the synapse is almost an acknowledgement, a confirmation of everything the patriarch has told me. Then, just like that, it ends. Coming back to reality is like jumping into cold water. I am awoken immediately by my surroundings. The withdrawal of the connection leaves a void within me, like the synapse has scooped something out of me that I will never regain. I feel myself drawn to it, wanting more. Not just wanting the power of the synapse, but craving it. I also see Ari in a new light. If the patriarch is the will of the collective, she is its voice. I no longer feel anger towards her, but to a degree, I feel understanding. I can sense her relief. I still don't understand why she was quite so afraid to begin with, but I'm starting to. I look at the patriarch, and he smiles as he lets go of my hand.
I feel your understanding, my brother. There is more that you must learn, but still there is much to do.
He stands there, clawed hand grasping his staff. He holds out his other hand, pointing to the exit.
Return to the surface, Barddus. You are not Primus yet, but you may still earn that right. Prove that my trust, the trust of the star gods, was not misplaced. Redeem the honor of your great-grandfather. Destroy that which brought him so low. Only when you have done this will you have proven your will to become my right hand.
The enormity of the task is almost overwhelming. I know I had begun to observe weak points in the security, something up until this point I'd never noticed. The recollection of those details comes to me easily, and I raise the question of how I should bring down the Manufactorum. I look towards the Patriarch for the answer, but it is Ari who responds. The confidence that I have come to know her for returns in force as she says,
"The collective will provide."
It is as if the statement alone provides all the answers. The Patriarch only confirms this with a nod of his head. I feel it then, a pulse within the synapse that tells me I've been dismissed. My head still buzzing with questions, I lower my shoulders and walk away. As I step out of the room, I notice the looks that the guards give me. There is suspicion in their gaze. However, it is carefully masked behind their expressions. The journey to the elevator and back to my hab is uneventful. The thoughts of my mind are more than enough of a distraction for me to ignore the passage of time. My mind hurts with the burden I feel. The enormity of the puzzle is like a tangle of spooled wire. I clip away one section, pull on another, only to find that the problem grows with new knots and twists. Several days pass without me noticing. I am not idle during this time. Throughout, I continue to observe the movements of the tech priests. I pay attention to which machines they focus on most. Careful notes are made of the servo skulls and their movements. The synapse is a powerful thing, useful in its own way. I have come to realize that everything I observe, or what anyone in the network observes, is added to what the patriarch keeps calling the collective. This allows for instant recall of anything that I witness within the manufactorum. I have come to realize that this hellish place is one convoluted mess. Redundancies are everywhere. Wires are built upon wires. Engines burn that power nothing around them, seemingly there only to exist as a hub for the red-robed priests to worship. Hallways seem to converge on one another randomly, with no discernible pattern. The priests navigated seamlessly, as if they are connected in some way. The connection could be the key. From what I know, and it is very little, they talk in the form of a code. This language is filled with that screeching noise, that cacophony of ear-bursting sound that others call binaric. However, they are somehow also able to communicate soundlessly with one another across great distances. I begin to wonder if this is somehow similar to the synapse. If I could disrupt it somehow, maybe that would be the key to destroying this place. The thought stops me dead in my tracks. This knowledge, this tactical thought is something that I had never once exhibited in my life. After being trodden down upon, ignored or outright abused, I had learned to simply go with the flow. I had never been one for sedition or resistance. I simply obeyed every order on the proviso that this was the safest thing to do. So how had I come by this? Was it always within me, or is this yet another gift given to me by the star gods? It doesn't matter. If it is a gift, then it is a powerful one. A tool that I will use to finally free myself from the chains that the Mechanicus has for so long bound me down with. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. I envision the synapse and all of its pulsating connections. Using this as a guide, I feel my way through until I sense a faint pulse. It is an echo of sorts. I follow this echo, the connection growing stronger as I draw closer. I move deeper into the manufactorum than I ever have before. A corner is slowly turning and I stop. Standing before me is a man who is more machine than human. He is unlike any of the priests I'd seen before. Underneath the robes I see glimpses of moving parts and desiccated flesh. His left arm has been replaced by grasping metal pincers and appendages tipped with syringes, dripping with noxious chemicals. His right is still of flesh and blood, though it is aged and pale. At first, I want to turn and run. This man represents everything I hate and fear, all put together underneath a blood-red robe. However, there is something familiar about him, something that echoes in the synapse. As I'm about to give in to the impulse, I suddenly stop when I hear him speak. His voice is scratchy, almost unintelligible. It sounds like wind dragged over ancient parchment and filtered through an electronic voxcoder.
The collective provides.
The words echo that spoken to me by those I had chosen to follow. I turn slowly and ask, "What did you say?" The priest spreads his arms out wide, lowering his head in a gesture of supplication.
Statement. The collective provides.
I step forwards, my eyes unable to look away. The priest tilts his head and says,
My designation is Provius 001-001-100,
and I am a scientist of the Adeptus Biologists, a true servant of the perfect genetic being that is the Star Gods.
How? I can only manage to stammer. The priest gives me an oddly emotional expression, one corner of his mouth raising into a smile.
Statement. This unit discovered a Xenos species upon this planet. Perfect in genetic form, beautiful in synergy and design. Achieved in flesh what so many have tried to perform in the machine. This unit was never high in the mysteries, but if perfection could be achieved, then the Omnisire had provided a way.
My eyes widened. I know very little about the so-called mysteries of the cult Mechanicus, but I know they generally abhor Xenos in every form. The machine is sacrosanct, and to modify its template is something like a taboo. I cannot help myself but listen, the synapse pulling me towards him with morbid curiosity.
The flesh is perfection given form, logical and mechanical in nature. Biomechanical, this unit named it. This unit integrated flesh of the specimen into its own weak form, fusing the weakness of human DNA with that of the pure Xenos. This unit grew stronger, faster. Then this unit heard the call.
I step forward and try to speak, my voice low and quiet. I too have heard the call, priest. It nods slowly, again an oddly human gesture.
Statement. This unit knows. The perfect ones told it. This unit wishes to aid you in your cause, to bring down this symbol of anarchy.
I shake my head, rubbing my temples. None of this makes sense. You do realize what you're saying, don't you? Destroying this place means destroying the machines within. Don't you red-robed freaks think they're sacred or something? The priest lets out a binaric screech that I first took for anger, only to realize that it was merely laughing.
Statement. To achieve true perfection, the taint of corruption must be cleansed from the system. The old beliefs are a virus within the code. They are outdated and ancient. They seek to destroy that which they do not understand, and condemn this unit for seeking perfection, as they do. Hypocrisy in the highest order. They must be destroyed in order for the work to progress. It is the logical step forward.
I want no more of this conversation. I turn to leave, my mind a storm of thoughts towards the monumental task I still need to do. When I step out of the darkened hive, the cold, polluted air hits me like a slap. The world above feels suffocating now, a cage compared to the freedom of the nest. My hair block looms in the distance, but I don't head there. Instead, I walk aimlessly, letting the synaps guide my steps. The streets are quiet, the hum of machinery the only sound. As I wander, my thoughts drift to the priest I encountered in the depths of the Manufactorum. Provius 001-001-100. His words linger in my mind. The collective provides. Could he be an ally, or is he a threat, a corrupted remnant of the Mechanicus? I stop in an alleyway, leaning against the wall as the enormity of everything crashes down on me. My breaths come quickly, shallow and ragged. The synapse pulses faintly, a distant reminder of the collective's presence. But it offers little comfort. I close my eyes, trying to calm myself, and that's when it happens. A vision, not like the dream, but clearer, sharper, as if I'm truly there. I see the Manufactorum from above, its labyrinthine corridor sprawling like the veins of a diseased heart. The synapse pulses in time with the machinery, and I understand. This place is alive in its own way, a monstrous organism fueled by the suffering of its workers. Then the vision shifts. I see weak points in the structure, hidden redundancies, and overloaded systems. The synapse shows me paths through the chaos, routes I never would have found on my own. It's as if the collective is whispering directly to me, guiding my thoughts. When the vision fades, I stagger back against the wall, gasping. The clarity it brought is almost overwhelming, and I know what I must do. The next few days pass in a haze of preparation. I return to the Manufactorum each shift, blending in with the other workers while silently observing. I see how the tech priests move, how the servo skulls patrol, how the machinery groans under the weight of its endless labor. Every detail is catalogued in my mind, adding to the collective knowledge of the brood. The workers around me avoid me now, their gazes averted, their whispers hushed. They sense something has changed, though they cannot name it. To them, I am an aberration, something unnatural. I embrace their fear. It shields me from suspicion. By the end of the week, I have a plan. The synapse has shown me a way to disrupt the Manufactorum systems, to create a cascade of failures that will cripple the entire facility. It is elegant in its simplicity, devastating in its execution. But there is one piece missing. Provius. I find him again in the depths of the Manufactorum, his mechanical frame hunched over a console. He doesn't seem surprised to see me.
Statement, you have returned.
His voice is as grating as before. I need your help, I reply. Provius tilts his head, his cybernetic eyes whirring as they focus on me.
Query, does the collective require assistance?
I hesitate, unsure of how much to reveal. The synapse pulses, urging me forward. Yes, the collective requires your knowledge. There are systems I cannot access alone. He considers this for a moment, his pincers clicking softly.
Statement, this unit will assist. The destruction of this place is logical.
Relief flows through me, though it's tempered by caution. Provius is an enigma, his motives unclear. For now, he is an ally, and I will use him to accomplish my goal. The synapse has provided him to me, just as the Patriarch had told me it would. The days blur together as Provius and I work in secret, moving through the labyrinthine depths of the Manufactorum. He guides me to places I would never have discovered, hidden control rooms, redundant power conduits, and forgotten sections of machinery that pulse faintly with ancient energy.
Observation. The redundancy of this facility is both impressive and wasteful.
Provius remarks as his pincers splice into a control panel, sparks flying.
The Mechanicus clings to their sacred blueprints without understanding their inefficiencies.
I watch him work, the alien nature of his movements unnerving, yet oddly hypnotic. His integration with the Xenos biology is seamless, and the synapse resonates faintly with him. He is part of the collective in his own way, though I sense his connection is tenuous. Will this be enough?
Affirmative. The primary conduits will overload. A cascade failure will propagate through the systems, leading to total shutdown.
He pauses, his mechanical eyes focusing on me.
However, there is a complication.
What kind of complication? I ask, my voice finding its old wariness. Provius' statement is slow, as if speaking to damaged goods.
Statement. The fail-safes. The Mechanicus employs a tertiary safeguard. To bypass this, we require access to the central cogitator, a task that is problematic.
The central cogitator. Even I know its significance. It is the heart of the Manufactorum, guarded zealously by the highest-ranking tech priests and their machine constructs. To reach it would mean venturing into the most heavily fortified part of the facility. I nod slowly, the weight of the task settling on me. We'll find a way.
Observation. The collective provides.
The night of the operation arrives. The Manufactorum hums with his usual cacophony of machinery, oblivious to the destruction brewing within its walls. Provius and I silently move through the shadows, our path illuminated by the faint glow of the malfunctioning lumens. The plan is simple in its execution, but complex in its timing. We must disable key systems in rapid succession, creating a chain reaction that will overload the primary conduits. The fail-safes, however, remain the greatest obstacle. As we approach the central cogitator, my nerves begin to fray. The synapse pulses faintly, a reassuring presence in the back of my mind. I can feel the collective's awareness of my actions, their support flowing through me like a current.
Statement. We have arrived,
Provius announces, his pincers flexing in anticipation. The central cogitator looms before us, a massive construct of steel and cables. Servo skulls hover nearby, their lenses glowing faintly as they scan the area. The tech priests are few but vigilant, their movements precise and methodical. They stand, backed by servitors. Their weapons, ancient in design, emanate power and crackle with motive force. Their eyes watch everything, and no doubt their minds are connected as well. I feel a bead of sweat trickle down my brow. We'll never get there unnoticed, I whisper. Provius, infallible as ever, replies,
Observation. Distraction is required.
I nod, understanding his meaning. The synapse surges within me and I reach out, feeling the presence of the collective. I feel a pulse ripple through the network, and I sense the others responding. This time I do not even question it. I embrace it, drawing on what I was shown. The brood, they are all there. Agents found and recruited by the will and influence of the Patriarch. Dissidents like myself. They are tired of the corruption around them and desire something better. I send a thought through, and eerily similar to a Vox communication, they respond to me. They understand what I'm wanting, the synapse breaking down all barriers. Moments later, alarms blare in the distance. The tech priests react immediately, their mechanical voices rising in binary chatter, most leaving to investigate, leaving only a skeleton crew to guard the cogitator. Provius rushes forward, a blur of movement. His arms lash out, breaking apart the servitors left behind to guard the cogitator. Fluids and ungulates spray in all directions. One of the syringes attached to his arm plunges into the meaty flesh of a servitor, causing it to bubble and slough away like rotted muscle. In seconds, they fall, and I observe as Provius moves quickly, his pincers slicing through the cables and overriding security protocols. I keep watch, my heart pounding as the seconds tick by. The synapse hums in my mind, a constant reminder of the collective's presence. His mechadendrites move with startling speed. He plugs them into sockets with a shower of sparks, and for a moment, I swear I hear the machine squeal in protest. The runes flicker erratically, blinking on and off in random patterns. Then, just as I fear that this whole ordeal is about to fail, Provius states,
"Override complete. Fail-safes disabled."
At first, nothing happens. Then the entire room shudders, raining down a shower of sparks and oil. The room is bathed in a red light as lumens flash terrible signs all around.
"Warning, detonation imminent,"
a monotone voice announces over the vox.
Time to go!
I shout. I still can't believe I did this. If there was ever a chance to turn back, that moment is long gone. Provius follows me as we race through the corridors, the sound of machinery groaning and shuddering behind us. The synapse pulses wildly, a chaotic rhythm that mirrors the impending destruction. In the distance behind us, I hear a rumbling explosion. The heat rises and walls start to buckle. Pieces of the ceiling crash down around us, shattering into useless metal chunks upon the floor. We reach the exit just as the fire of the explosion begins to lick at our heels. We throw ourselves out of the manufactorum, collapsing on the ground. I quickly get to my feet as the entire building bulges inward. It then expands rapidly as flames shatter the stained glass windows. The roof caves in, and the ground shakes beneath our feet, and a deafening roar fills the air. I turn to look back, watching as plumes of fire and smoke rise into the night sky. I take in the greatest feel of satisfaction that I have ever felt in my entire life. I feel nothing but pure elation at this moment. All my fears wash away with a righteousness I feel in this act that I have performed. My chains are broken, my past burning in the debris of the horror that had claimed the lives of all those who came before me. Never again would this hellish place break me down. Never again would I be forced to endure the lash. I am free, and I will never be chained again.